Let's get more now with Amelia Hadfield, Head of the Department of Politics at the University of Surrey. Welcome back, Amelia. Good to see you. So at this point, a quarter of the way through this century, big picture, how different does the health of the European project now look? Is it still as cohesive as a union?
Thanks, Paul. It's always great to be back. Well, 25 years is an enormous amount of time in terms of politics. So for standing and we're looking back at the first quarter of the 21st century, it's a very complex picture. You gave a very nice rundown as well. So I think it's a combination of selective unity, but also persistent fragmentation. So the EU in many ways has never been fully unified. And yet, on the other hand, it's consistently acted as a single economic and regulatory actor, even during major crisis. So it's a bit of a mix, if you like. It's been moderately cohesive. It's been quite resilient under stress, but it's also been politically fragmented. I think there are four key phases, and you've mentioned these yourself. The early years of 2000, up to about 2008, probably the highest amount of cohesion. So you get the Euro launch, Eastern enlargement, quite strong consensus around globalization and market integration. But then 2008, 2009, that's tremendous severe strain. That's the beginning of the Eurozone debt crisis that exposes deep north-south divides. That rolls on into austerity and solidarity conflicts right till about 2015. We don't see any other exits and we don't see other breakups, but we do see Brexit itself, of course, in 2016. I would maybe categorize this as political fracture, and that rumbles on till about 2020. It rolls on into migration crises, splitting East and West. We have the rise of nationalist governments. That's giving birth to many more populist opportunities for various policies, and yet we see the EU institutions remaining intact. And now we're in the fifth or the fourth of those phases. Now, just going into the fifth. Can I describe it as perhaps functional unity? You have COVID recovery. That's a fund that sees the EU agree to joint debt for the first time. That's a big step forward. We see unified sanctions against Russia. We see some coordination in energy and industrial responses, but, and you pointed this out yourself, political rhetoric is diverging and policy execution is converging. So that ongoing tension.
Yes, indeed. And let's talk a bit more about that political fragmentation and the rise of populism, perhaps the most defining political pattern that has emerged in the past decade, especially. I mean, why is that, and how much of a potential threat is it to the very existence of the European Union as an entity?
That's a great question. So, of course, it's deeply concerning, and the trends show significant momentum and have done for a number of years, and they provided substantial electoral gains for a number of countries, a number of parties, far-right, very far-right populist parties across the continent. They've made very dramatic electoral breakthroughs across Europe, and I think for probably the same reasons they have in the United States. It's a constituency of the unheard or the disenfranchised. In Germany, we see this in the far-right Alternative for Germany party, which won a record 21% of the vote in recent federal elections. So that's the second largest force in parliament. Same in Austria, their Freedom Party, a victory with 29% of the vote. So that's a remarkable comeback for a party that, as you might remember, crashed out of government in a corruption scandal back in 2019. The Netherlands, Geert Wilders' Freedom Party. That's an interesting combination. It's part of a four-way coalition government, and then, of course, a Meloni, whose Brothers of Italy party has sort of mainstreamed and found the moderate aspects, if you like, of far right. It's got roots in a post-war neo-fascist movement, but she's now been prime minister for a number of years. Just to your second point on why it's so concerning, I think it's really tinkering with the very values and the structures of Europe itself. I think these far-right parties don't feel the need to go to sort of detoxify their brand, if I could put it like that, or even moderate their positions. They're simply saying, we're here, we're attractive enough, we can win elections, we can form governments, and we're happy to borrow ideas from other movements like remigration. We're happy to look at things like the deportation of people of immigrant origin, including, for example, Austrian citizens, and that is really a tinkering at the very fabric of Europe's rule of law and government and democracy and human rights. That's really pulling at those original foundations, if you like.
Very grateful for your input today, Amelia Hadfield from the University of Surrey. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.